Okay, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. So, tips for the student of knowledge, lesson 4 of the Quran class. So, inshallah, one thing I want to tell you guys, okay, is, yeah, this is a bad, I need to change this image. Okay, okay. I didn't, yeah, she needs to have hijab. But the point is, she has shopping bags, and women love to have shopping bags in their hands. But besides that, one of the things that I want you to think about is when a person, for example, if a person won a shopping spree, okay? How many of you guys have ever seen that on TV, where someone had a shopping spree? Okay.
Shopping what?
A shopping spree. So a shopping spree is maybe someone won a prize or something, and they get like maybe 5 minutes to buy whatever they want, or they can 2 minutes to go through the store and buy whatever they can. They can put it in the cart, and they get to keep that. Okay. So this is something, of course, exciting, and it's everyone really loves to do this. And so one of the things that some people. And my wife tells me this all the time, but you could probably notice this yourself. But if you go to the supermarket and you're shopping, and you're really hungry, what tends to happen? You buy everything. You're buying on impulse, right? So you see something, you're like, oh, that would look good. Okay, I need to buy it. And you start putting stuff in the thing that you wouldn't even know need, and you might even want to return it after, right? And when you're not so hungry anymore. So the same thing. Sometimes some people, this is kind of an analogy, so just bear with me. But some people, if they're they have the shopping cart. Some of them, if they're not intelligent, what they're going to do is they're going to start going to the things that are meaningless or not really worth much. Okay? For example, let's say if you went to Toys R Us, okay, and there was a 7-year-old kid, and he was given this opportunity to have a shopping spree. What type of stuff would they pick up? Yeah.
Everything.
Huh?
Anything in their way.
Anything in their way, but probably things that are... Huh?
Action figures.
Action figures, Transformers, little things. Little things, okay? So they're not going to pick up things that are important. And things that you would probably, because you're older and you're more mature and stuff, you're probably like, okay, who cares, right? And someone my age, I would probably pick up other things, right? So I would probably, like, if I was given 1 minute to do whatever, I would go to the video game section, and I would get like the newest of the new PS4, the Xbox One, and whatever video games I could grab, I'd put them there. And then I wouldn't play those video games. I would actually go and sell them on eBay or something. Okay? So, but the point is, I would use my time very, very wisely. And the analogy that I'm trying to give you is that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He created us, right? Of course. الَّذِي خَلَقَ الْمَوْتَ وَالْحَيَاةَ لِيَبْلُوَكُمْ, right? أَيُّكُمْ أَحْسَنُ أَمَلًا. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in Surah Al-Mulk, ayah number 2, He says, the one who has created you, created life and death, okay? لِيَبْلُوَكُمْ, to test you, right? And what is He testing? أَيُّكُمْ أَحْسَنُ أَمَلًا, from which of you are going to do the ahsan, the greatest good deeds. So for us, it's not just doing good deeds, okay, but we should try to be, especially if we're students of the Quran, we want to be intelligent when we're picking the good deeds we want to do. We want to do the deeds that are most pleasing to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and that's why we were mentioning before, the blessings of knowledge. The person who really knows if you have knowledge, then you do the deeds that are most blessed, and the ones that will carry the most weight, inshallah, in the akhirah. So that's something to think about, and that when we're going through the study of the Quran, that some people it might come very easy for you. Okay, some people. I had a student last year. Okay, you guys remember Mr. Bilal? Okay, Bilal Shakir. Masha tabarakallah. He had an amazing memory. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bless him with that. I saw him once in class. He forgot to do his homework. Okay. And so this isn't ghiba, this is actually something good about him. So he sat there, and about, I think, 10 or 15 minutes, he memorized the entire page. Okay? I was testing him on an entire page. And so for some of you, like, oh, that's nothing. I could do that, like 10 pages in, half an hour, whatever. So for you, some of you, mashallah, you built up that memory because of the hifz of the Quran. But anyways, for me, like, I struggle. 3, 4 lines, 5 lines. I memorize it, maybe because I'm like starting again. With me, it's like I start it and I do it for a month, and then I go backwards. I start forgetting. Okay, then I do it again, a few months later, and go back. So it has to be consistent, and we'll talk about tips on memorizing Quran later, inshallah. But the point I'm trying to make is, for some people it's very easy, and for others it's very difficult. So if it's Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has made it difficult for you, don't give up, right? There's he's mashallah very popular, Mufti Hussein Kamani. He's from Chicago. In one of the stories he mentions that he took 4 years to memorize the Quran, and he would cry every year, or whenever they had the graduation ceremony for people who memorized the Quran. He would literally sit in the back and cry, because he's like, when is my turn going to come? But he kept going with it, and he was able to, alhamdulillah, finally complete the Quran. So maybe it's a little bit more difficult than you, right? And for you. However, inshallah, if you do it, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, in the hadith of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and it's narrated that it's double the reward too. Okay, so there's one who gets it easy. The one who it's a little bit more difficult on him, it will be more reward for him, and he will be also with the noble angels on the Day of Judgment, inshallah. Yes?
I don't mind asking you, do you know the Quran?
I do not. So that's what I was trying to tell you. I start and stop, and that's the problem with me. And that's one of the things, inshallah, we'll talk about it when we're talking about memorizing. I'm going to ask you guys, because you probably have tons of tips for me and all of us to memorize the Quran. But one of the things definitely, and when I heard this recently over the summer too, is wherever you stopped, like one of the things, I feel guilty, like, okay, I memorized Surah Al-Baqarah, and then I'm forgetting it, so I go back to Surah Al-Baqarah, and I keep reviewing, but I don't go forward in my study or memorization. So that's also one of the problems, because it's still in your head. It just needs to be a little bit more like revised. Like when they do the gardan, right, or the repetition, right? After you've memorized the Quran, they repeat the Quran for about a year almost. So in the same way, it's fresh in your memory, but it might need a little bit of work. So one of the scholars, he was Sheikh Yusuf from Sacramento, he was mentioning to go further in your studies. Okay, keep going more and more in the Quran, because inshallah that will also give you motivation that you're going somewhere, you're going further. Yes.
Yeah, I kind of have a tip to help you. Okay, so my brother, he kind of has the same problem. Like what he does, he kind of just
How old is he?
Yeah, always. He just
No, but how old is he?
How old? He's in 8th grade.
8th grade. Okay.
And he just continues to memorize, and sometimes he just doesn't go back to review. So the tip that really helped me when I was memorizing the Quran is what you do. It's better to maybe memorize 1 or 2 pages a day, and then go back and review what you memorized the previous day.
Yeah.
At the same time.
And you say 1, 2 pages is nothing, right? For most of us, it's 3, 5 lines. So yeah.
It's okay.
But I know it takes time to build that memory. Yeah.
It takes time. Well, even for example, if you memorize 1 page and you review, it's better than if you memorize 10 pages.
Yeah.
And then after that, you forget all of it.
Yeah, exactly. Yes.
And you make sure when you memorize it, you don't forget it.
Yeah.
You don't leave it for a while.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Until you review it again. You review it the next day, the day after that.
Okay, can we hold on to the memorizing tips, because I know you have mashallah many, and I'd love to hear them. I honestly do, because my son, inshallah, I want them, and myself, of course, so I can help. It can help me, inshallah. But some things really quickly. Now I'm going to give you 10 responsibilities of the student of knowledge.
Do you want us to write that?
No. This is supposed to be a joke, okay? So it's yeah, ha 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 ha. Okay? So it says the trouble with this company is nobody wants to accept responsibility for anything, but don't tell anyone I said that, okay? The point is that people don't like taking responsibility, and as students of knowledge, we want to be responsible. Okay, so I'm going to give you 10 things on how, inshallah, to be responsible, or 10 responsibilities, you could say, that students of knowledge, inshallah, we should have. Number 1, we should be considerate of time. We need to be people who can manage our time.
We need to write that.
Okay?
We need to write that.
Yes, you should be writing this down now.
What?
So,
You say it again?
no, because you don't have your notebook out. That's not my
right
fault.
here.
Then why aren't you writing?
I didn't I just ask you if you need to write?
Just write everything.
Okay, manage, from now, write everything, okay? Manage your time. Time management skills, okay? A student of knowledge must be able to manage their time. Because if you keep wasting time and you're not reviewing and you're not going further in your knowledge, you're not sharing your knowledge with other people, it's going to be decreasing, like you guys were mentioning, right? And that's not just with the memorization of Quran, but anything, right? They would review, the scholars always were reviewing, and they never thought of themselves as Mr. Mufti Saab, I'm done now, I'm the... Huh?
I always hear you say Saab. What does that mean?
Saab is like a term of respect, and like Hafiz Saab, like the Hafiz, okay? So, Sahib, yeah. So it's so number one, time management. Number two, you have to be motivated to gain knowledge. Okay, you want to be encouraged, or you want to have it. And there's so many difficulties that the previous people had to go through. For you guys, for most of you, it's maybe 5, 10, 15 minutes bus or ride to school. Some of you might have it more difficult, where you're coming from Dearborn, other places.
Difficulties, bro. Brother, is that
So the second one is that you want to have ilm, and you want to be motivated, or you have to be motivated, and that you're going to face difficulties. You're going to face challenges and obstacles when it comes to ilm. You're going to have a lot of different things that might even deter you and stop you from memorizing the Quran, or from any of the things that of the pursuit of knowledge. So you have to remember the previous stories too, like Alqamah, one of the great scholars of the past. It's mentioned that he traveled from Iraq to Medina for one hadith. And we saw, all the time we hear about Imam Bukhari, right? Imam Muslim. And the thousands and thousands of miles they traveled for sometimes one hadith, two hadith, a few hadith, right? And so all these difficulties, and travel at that time wasn't like us. We can travel 1,000 miles in a couple hours. No problem at all. Yarhamakullah. So this is one of the things that we have to want it, we need to desire it, and we can look at this. Imam Zuhri, they mention that he spent 45 years seeking knowledge. And we sometimes spend like 4 years, 6 years, whatever, and we think that we know everything. No, I meant like those who are a little bit more advanced in their knowledge. They spend 4, 6 years, 8 years maybe, and then they think they've reached this ultimate knowledge, which is, we are basically hitting the tip of the iceberg, right? Imam Ghazali, rahmatullah alayhi, he mentions in one of his books that when, I'm not sure if it was Imam Ghazali, but he mentions that like after so much study of the Quran, we've only reached, you could say, the sand or the beach itself. Okay? Like if you're at the ocean of knowledge, right? If you compare it to that, by all of this knowledge that we get over so many years, we've only got like to that point of maybe we're about to get into the water, right? We haven't even got anywhere close to really soaking ourselves into it or going into it even more. So this is a lifetime pursuit. It is not something so simple. Yes?
Brother, before I memorize the Quran, Hafad are like glorified, and you think that they have so much knowledge. But actually, you realize Quran is just the beginning.
Yeah.
It's almost nothing. No, and it's a lot, but it's almost nothing when it gets to knowledge.
Yeah, not to put it like, of course, memorizing Quran is a great thing. Yeah. However, like Abdullah is saying, is very important. That's like the people of the past. That was like a joke to them. Memorizing Quran was like, what are you talking about? And there was one of the sheikhs he was mentioning. It was a village in Africa, and that was the bare minimum requirement to get married. If you weren't hafiz of the Quran, you wouldn't get married. You were like an idiot, basically, right? Like if you didn't memorize the Quran, you're like a fool. Okay, and there's other places like Al-Shanqit. Okay, there's a place in Morocco, North Africa, Mauritania. Sorry. So they say about the Shanqit tribe, you could say, they would talk about like how those students of knowledge were different than the others. They said that they would study during the day and they would memorize at night. Okay, and that's really what the difference is. How many of you guys really go back and study your notes afterwards? A lot of people, we don't do that, right? And may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala forgive us, even as teachers, sometimes we don't review as much as we should. Abdullah.
There was once a scholar from Shanqit. He went to Al-Azhar University and he challenged them. He told them that they're famous that they memorize a lot. Yeah. So he told them that he memorized the book Lisan al-Arab, the one over there. Did you see it?
Yes.
It's huge.
Yeah.
He told them, they didn't believe him. It's almost impossible. So actually, like, challenged them. he read it out loud, like from his memory. The book is huge. It's like over here. It's in the library.
I was just listening to a lecture. Yeah, Lisan al-Arab. It's one of the famous dictionaries. No, it's this. 15 books.
How do you memorize that much?
Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala blesses them. There's the Shah Anwar, what was his name, subhanAllah? Shah, he was, no, that's from India. He was a Kashmiri, he was Desi. He was a brilliant master of hadith, okay? He was from the previous generation, Shah Anwar Kashmiri, I think. SubhanAllah, I don't even remember his name. So what they say about him, that mashallah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala blessed him with such a memory, that he would go, and one time he went to Al-Azhar. He memorized one of the books. It's they have a lot of manuscripts. And even in U of M Ann Arbor, if you go there, we got to go there. Inshallah, hopefully we'll do this year as well. In the graduate library, there's this amazing collection of manuscripts that are handwritten. These are scripts that it doesn't exist almost anywhere in the world except here, right? So, anyways, one of the books was in Al-Azhar, and this sheikh, he went there from India or Kashmir, and he just looked it over. He had a photographic memory, so he just memorized everything. And he went back, and in one time, he was, when they were going through some deliberations, in Pakistan there was a group called, subhanAllah, my memory is like failing me, subhanAllah. Yeah, we're talking about memory, and my memory is like gone. There's a famous group. The ones who believe that there's a prophet, the Ahmadiyya, and there's another name. What are they called? Qadianis. Okay, so the Qadiani and the Ahmadiyya, there was a court ruling or different things going on, and they invited Shah Anwar Kashmiri to this meeting, okay, or the trial, and they asked him a question about something, and he quoted the book, okay, and again this was a very rare book. And so he quoted that book, and he mentioned, so and so and such and such. And they said, well, we can't just take your word for it. You have to show us the proof, okay? Or we need to have proof of it. So he said, well, the proof is that book, and that's the only place where it exists. So they actually stopped the trial, and they had to fly out to that place, or travel all the way to that place, and take a look at that book and make sure that it's a confirmation of what he said. And after a while later, they came back, and then they went back to the trial, and they said, yes, that's exactly what it was. Okay? And so these different types of things, some people, mashallah, they were given these amazing memories, but we're spending too much time on that. So the second thing, again, you have to want it, though. You have to be motivated for or desire that knowledge. The third thing, you must review. Okay? You must review, and again, like I said, prioritize your time. So we must be trying to review the things and the information that we understand or we get. Okay, not just it's filling our notebooks, it's filling our laptops with things, but rather we should review. A lot of times, like for example, the Al-Maghrib classes and the different things, alhamdulillah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, one of the things that, and I'm not saying this just to, say it to you guys, but one of the things that I did always, whenever I would take an Al-Maghrib class or any class I would take, I would always read the notes over and over again. Okay? I wouldn't say I memorized the notes, but I would take really good notes in class, and then I would read it over and over, so I have the information pretty much, and for at least the most part. And the thing, of course, I'm lacking is of Arabic, and sometimes, memorizing the ayat and the proofs behind, that's one thing, but the information in general, knowing that, and this is one of the things that we need to do, is go over those things over and over again, so we don't forget it. Another thing that we can do, or we should do, is as students of knowledge, and students of the Quran, we should be those who look at the world through the lens of the Quran. Okay? Number 4. So see the world through the lens of the Quran. A lot of times we look at the world and everything through the lens of what the society thinks. Okay? What the norms of society are. And we forget what the Quran and the Sunnah say about things. Right? We think about a guy or someone who's popular. We look at the things that they're doing, and I don't care if it's halal and haram, basically because he's popular, I'm going to follow it. So we're not using the lens of the Quran, we're using the lens of the world. So we should use the lens of the Quran in every single thing we look at. And there's a story, one second inshallah. So the story is, there's a young couple who moved into a neighborhood, And in the morning, this young woman, she was watching her neighbor put up clothing. She was hanging or drying clothes outside. So as she's putting it up, she starts making remarks to her husband. She says, what kind of, she doesn't know how to do her laundry. Look at all the spots and all the disgusting things that are on the laundry. She doesn't know what she's doing. And then the second morning, same thing happened. Okay, third, fourth, so on. And then finally, the husband, he cleaned the window. Okay, he cleaned the window. And the lady, when she got up and she said, oh, finally she learned how to do it. And then the husband told her, no, it wasn't actually the lady's fault, it was your fault. You weren't looking at it through the correct, you could say, perspective or lens. So these are things we should be keeping in mind when we're students of knowledge and, of course, the students of the Quran. Next thing is, what is real success? Okay? And this is, knowing what this is, you could say.
The next thing is, what is real success?
What is real success? Yeah. Yeah, so as Muslims and people who, students of knowledge, we should be understanding, or we should know what is real success when it comes to the dunya, and not letting these other things, plague us or not tell us what it is. Okay, what real success is. I skipped one. Sorry, number 5 was do muhasaba, like to do self-reflection. Okay, be self-reflective, and when you read the ayat of Allah and you read different things, the sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ and so on, always apply it to yourself. A lot of times as students of knowledge, what we do is we start looking at and pointing fingers at other people. We read something about the Shia, or we read something about other groups and different people, and we start calling even the munafiqeen and other things, and we start looking at other people to see what that person has a characteristic of a hypocrite. We seldomly look at ourselves and try to see what maybe we have some of those characteristics. So a student of knowledge, a student of Quran, always looks at or does self-reflection and takes those verses and puts it on themselves first. Ahmed first.
To be self-reflective, what do you mean exactly?
So again, when it talks about, like for example, the people of hell, when the Quran is talking about the people of hell, okay? When you're reading these ayat, you're not the person who sits there and you're like, well, that person so-and-so is, he has the characteristics of the people of hell. Self-reflective means that you do muhasabah yourself.
Oh, you think about
you think about what you're doing wrong. Okay? So again, let's go quickly because we're gonna run out of time. I have 10 minutes. Not even 10 minutes, I think. Another thing is some signs of success. I'll take questions inshallah at the end. 15 minutes, okay. So some signs of, I still have like 5-6 slides, but they're going to take a while. So another thing, like I was talking about success, I want you guys to close your eyes, okay? Bear with me. And I want you to think of your role model, basically the person that you really, really want to be like, okay? And I want you to write their name down on your paper. You can open your eyes.